If anyone had told me years ago that I would be married to a girl much younger than me with no background in New York or none of the similar interests growing up, and that she'd be a Korean orphan, I would have said, no chance, I'm going to be married to a New York actress. But it didn't work out that way. These are the words Woody Allen recently spoke of Soon-Yi, his wife of 28 years. When they first married, Allen was 62 and Soon-Yi was 27. As consenting adults, there's nothing wrong with that. But things get far stranger, far more upsetting when you realize that Soon-Yi is the adopted daughter of a woman Allen dated, legendary actor Mia Farrow, and also a woman who Allen met when she was a child of 10. This quote was pulled from a piece in the Wall Street Journal titled, "Woody Allen Refuses to be Cancelled." And I'm not here to cancel Woody Allen, or to step into the world of cancel culture as a whole. What I am here to speak about is Woody Allen's place in the film industry, and his perspective on his perceived cancellation following the MeToo movement, and the words he has used to speak up in defense of himself. If an actor says, "I won't work with him," basically the actor is thinking, "I'm doing a good thing." From his point of view, I'm making a contribution, I'm making a statement, but he's really making a mistake. Someday, he may learn that. Before we get into this video, I just want to say that it will lightly tread over what is extraordinarily upsetting ground, not to mention difficult to navigate when you are dealing with allegations that, though unproven, are not to be flippantly dismissed. I will divulge occasional details in order to provide context, but it is not what this video is about. What is Woody Allen's place in Hollywood? What aspects of himself does he reflect in his films? And how does he justify his behavior? I am not a journalist, and the words and thoughts shared throughout this video will be based upon my personal feelings, how Woody Allen's art and behaviors make me feel. However you choose to interpret this information is entirely up to you. I'm just here to share it. In a 1983 interview with fellow director Henry Jaglom, all-time great director Orson Welles would say the following: "I hate Woody Allen physically. I dislike that kind of man," he said, adding, "Oh yes, I can hardly bear to talk to him. He has the Chaplin disease. That particular combination of arrogance and timidity sets my teeth on edge." Like all people with timid personalities, his arrogance is unlimited. Anybody who speaks quietly and shrivels up in company is unbelievably arrogant. He acts shy, but he's not. He's scared. He hates himself and he loves himself. A very tense situation. Jaglom, egging Welles on, asked if he thought Allen took himself too seriously. "Very seriously," Welles declared. I could not summarize my disdain of Woody Allen's work any better than Welles. It's incredibly similar to my feelings on Vincent Gallo's Buffalo 66. Great films that, for me, are stained by the self-insertion of a real, living and breathing individual, who I cannot stand. And yes, Allen's films are dripping with ego. So are plenty of other directors' films. Hell, I'm sure 90% of Hollywood is made up of egomaniacs. But you usually don't have to stare them directly in the face like you do with Woody Allen. There's no doubt about it. Woody Allen is an incredibly influential and prolific director. His unique style and his tone have shaped media significantly. With as many films as he has made, it's impossible to boil them down to one generalization, but for the most part, they go like this. There's the Woody Allen insert, usually played by himself. A bumbling, meek yet sarcastic, agnostic and anxious nerd who speaks a mile a minute. This is Allen speaking through the character. They say, write what you know, and boy, does Allen follow that advice. His films are almost always set in New York and revolve around well-to-do academic or artistic-type characters, with a heavy focus on romance and all its messier implications. The heart wants what the heart wants is a recurring theme for Allen, and not only in his films. His films are dialogue-driven, and Allen, admittedly, is an incredibly talented writer of dialogue. All of this to say, despite my personal taste or occasional disgust, there is a reason why so many of Allen's films are beloved, and why he has so much success and influence in the industry. The art versus the artist, an endless debate, and one I believe comes down to an individual's personal feelings more than most would admit. And In general, when it comes to studying film as an artistic medium, separating the art from the artist is often a necessity. At the same time, understanding the artist as a person can be essential to interpreting the film, for better or worse. But what about pure consumption? You as a casual viewer, can you enjoy art made by a monster? Do you enjoy it and feel bad about it? Or do you enjoy it and say, I am simply a consumer. I have nothing to do with the creator of said art, and I do not feel guilty. This is where most of the vitriol stems from. Morality. And I'm not going to dive into that. What I will dive into is my personal feelings, which I will state again almost verbatim from my Buffalo 66 video. While there is a bit of shadow cast upon it, I still do enjoy watching a film like Rosemary's Baby, and Repulsion is one of my favorite movies. It's Polanski's art, but I do not see him. I do not feel him directly projected into the art. There's a degree of separation, but with a film like Buffalo 66 and Vincent Gallo, or Annie Hall and Woody Allen, I feel as if I am face to face with someone I despise. And in turn, I despise the film, despite it having plenty of merit. But there's a whole other level here, one that someone like me, or 99% of you, will never experience. What does this debate, the art versus the artist, look like when you actually work in the industry? When you actually participate not only in the art, but with the artist? Which brings us to our next discussion. In general, and perhaps unsurprisingly, when it comes to the art versus the artist debate in Hollywood, Hollywood has almost always sided with the art.
And the Oscar goes to Roman Polanski for The Pianist.
On March 10th, 1977, Roman Polanski was arrested and charged with 6 counts involving the drugging and of a 13-year-old Samantha Gailey. Roman Polanski fled the U.S. before he could serve time for the charges, settling in France where he held citizenship. The U.S. put in an extradition request to France, this meaning France would surrender Polanski to the U.S. so he could serve his sentence, but their request was denied. Essentially, he was a wanted man, but he was perfectly at home in France. In 2002, he won Best Picture for The Pianist despite all of this. The industry recognized the art. Well, in 2009, Polanski made the mistake of trying to enter Switzerland, who had no problem putting him in quote-unquote provisional detention while his potential extradition was put under judicial review in Swiss courts. Basically, what I am working towards here is the 2009 petition for the release of Roman Polanski, stating that filmmakers in France and Europe and the United States and around the world are dismayed by this decision. It seems inadmissible to them that an international cultural event paying homage to one of the greatest contemporary filmmakers is used by police to apprehend him. The petition was signed by an innumerable amount of incredibly influential Hollywood figures, including Woody Allen. It'd almost be easier to list what industry icons did not sign the petition. Unfortunately, the Swiss government never ended up extraditing Polanski. Polanski, now 92, still lives as a free man in France. With the Polanski petition, Hollywood made its stance clear, but since then, some of the signees have said that they regretted doing so, though not very many. Natalie Portman was very outspoken about her regret. David Lynch, almost universally considered the sweetheart of Hollywood, also signed the petition, though his daughter, Jennifer, said that upon speaking with him about it, he too expressed regret. Prolific actors and industry figures continued to work with Polanski. That is, until the MeToo movement in 2017. How much did the MeToo movement really change? That's hard to say, but what it did do was shine a light on behaviors that had gone unchecked in Hollywood since the beginning, and the individuals who most perpetuated and participated in this behavior, such as Harvey Weinstein. Before we continue, I want to acknowledge that no matter what your feelings on the matter may be, or what information is available out there, that Woody Allen has never been convicted. Any allegations against him have not been legally proven. It's a totally different scenario. Like I said earlier, I'm not going to get into the allegations against Allen. If you would like to read up on it yourself, I would suggest looking up the Allen v. Farrow custody ruling, which, while having no ruling or opinion towards the legitimacy of the claims against Allen, does address the circumstances surrounding them in about as unbiased of a manner as I could find. I certainly have my thoughts on the matter, but I'm not here to push them on you. All of this to say, I'm not comparing Allen to Polanski. I'm speaking about Hollywood's response to these allegations. Woody Allen, too, was, as he would put it, a victim of the movement. A large number of actors have stepped up and expressed regret at working with Allen, and some even donated their salaries from Allen projects to the organization RAIN, an acronym consisting of words YouTube does not want me to say. Among these are Timothée Chalamet, Haley Atwell, Michael Caine, Colin Firth, Greta Gerwig, and a number of others. Kate Winslet would say, "It's like, what the fuck was I doing working with Woody Allen and Roman Polanski? It's unbelievable to me now how those men were held in such high regard so widely in the film industry and for as long as they were. It's fucking disgraceful. And I have to take responsibility for the fact that I worked with them both. I can't turn back the clock. I'm grappling with those regrets, but what do we have if we aren't able to just be fucking truthful about all of it?" With such a significant pushback, one might expect Allen to exhibit some minuscule amount of empathy, or at the very least, issue some PR written statement expressing empathy for those who have been abused in and outside of Hollywood. Nope. Not even close. Allen has called himself the poster boy of the MeToo movement, and would say, "I've made 50 films. I've always had very good parts for women, always had women in the crew, always paid them the exact same amount that we paid men, worked with hundreds of actresses, and never, ever had a single complaint from any of them at any point." Which is all well and good, but completely besides the point, as it is not Allen's conduct on set that has drawn controversy. But let's flip the coin, because when it comes down to it, nearly as many actors have spoken up in defense of Allen as against. For them, it is as clear as day. None of the allegations have been proven, and they have had nothing but good experiences working with Allen. They believe it's unfair to shun him. Blake Lively would say, "It's very dangerous to factor in things you don't know anything about. I could only know my experience, and my experience with Woody is that he's empowering to women." Alec Baldwin would express a similar sentiment, writing on Twitter, "Woody Allen was investigated forensically by 2 states and no charges were filed. The renunciation of him and his work no doubt has some purpose, but it's unfair and sad to me. I've worked with Woody Allen 3 times and it was one of the privileges of my career." Here's a sad truth. Had attention not been drawn to the matter, it is almost a certainty that many of the actors who expressed regret for working with Allen would not have done so. Harvey Weinstein's behavior in the industry was well known. It was not some secret. Regardless, because of his power in the industry, almost everyone just went along with it. Now, let's spend time focusing on what we do know, the facts that are without dispute, and that, regardless of your opinion on the matter, spell out a pattern of behavior from Allen. The age gap relationship. A topic of much debate. There are many elements that make up a relationship, and age is just one of them. Another is the power dynamic, which is often associated with age gap relationships. There's no definitive right or wrong answer here. However, I firmly believe that the younger someone is when entering an age gap relationship, the more vulnerable they tend to be. Relationships between an older man and a younger woman is a theme that runs through much of Allen's work. One of the clearest examples is his 1979 film Manhattan, a deeply unsettling story about a middle-aged man, played by Allen himself, who dates a 17-year-old high schooler, played by Mariel Hemingway.
Guess what? I turned 18 the other day.
Did you?
I'm legal, but I'm still a kid.
You're not such a kid. 18 years old. You know, they could draft you.
In 2020, Hemingway revealed to the Daily Beast that Allen tried to take their on-screen relationship into real life, inviting her to Paris when she was still 17. I was like, I'm not going to Paris with you because I don't think I'm going to get my own room. Christina Engelhardt has also come forward about her story with Allen, telling the same outlet that she met him at Elaine's restaurant when she was just 16, and began what became a 7-year relationship. One that started before she turned 17, the legal age of of consent in New York. Englehart insists that she has no regrets, but admitted that, looking back, the power balance between them was deeply uneven. She confessed that the relationship has taken a toll on her, negatively impacting later relationships and turning her into what she calls a super vigilant mother. To this day, Allen continues to include age gap romances in his work, most recently in his novel, What's with Bomb. When the Times asked him how he felt about the public's perception of him due to all this, he remarked, "Age was never an issue with me. My first wife was about 3 years younger than me. My second wife was a couple years younger. Keaton was the same. It was nothing I thought about." But who Allen didn't mention was his current wife, Soon-Yi. It's time to talk about her and Allen's history together.
My favorite is Manhattan.
You should probably go in with one of your teenage
friends?
twitty friends
Yeah.
and see Annie Hall. Probably because you'd like it. That's all.
Allen first met Soon-Yi when she was 10 years old. At the time, he was dating Mia Farrow, who was the adoptive mother of Soon-Yi. The two did not grow close to one another until Soon-Yi was in 11th grade and broke her ankle playing soccer. Allen was the one who would drive her to school after she left the doctor in a cast and on crutches. It was after this incident that Allen and Soon-Yi began going to Knicks games together. It was Farrow's idea because of Allen's expressed concern over Soon-Yi's introversion, and Farrow knew that Allen was always looking for someone to go to basketball games with. Soon-Yi began her freshman year as a student at Drew University in September 1991. And according to Soon-Yi, it was sometime during that fall that her affair with Allen began. Both of them are vague on how and when their friendship turned sexual. "It was 25 years ago," Soon-Yi would say. "I think Woody went after me because at that first basketball game, I turned out to be more interesting and amusing than he'd thought I'd be. And to the best of my memory, I came in from college on some holiday, and he showed me a Bergman movie, which I believe was The Seventh Seal, but I'm not positive. We chatted about it, and I must have been impressive because he kissed me, and I think that started it." Yikes. She continued, "I know this is no justification, but Mia was never kind to me, never civil, and here was a chance for someone showing me affection and being nice to me, so of course I was thrilled and ran for it. I'd be a moron if I stayed with Mia. I wasn't the one who went after Woody. Where would I get the nerve? He pursued me. That's why the relationship has worked. I felt valued. It's quite flattering for me. He's usually a meek person, and he took a big leap." Soon-Yi remains adamant that Allen was not a stand-in father to her or ever took that role. "I already had a father. He was Soon-Yi Previn, and Mia never married Woody, nor did they ever live together. He was my mother's boyfriend, plain and simple." Does this hurt you all as much as it hurts me? What first began as a quiet affair exploded when in 1992, Mia Farrow found Polaroids of Soon-Yi and Allen naked on the mantle of Allen's fireplace. An incident which Allen would cheerfully and sardonically refer to as the Polaroids heard round the world.
And what about the way Mia discovered their affair?
I mean, she found out about it by finding some rather embarrassing pictures.
Yes. Correct. I mean, what is the question?
I presume that's not the way you wanted her to find out.
I never thought about it.
Oh, and guess what? If all of this isn't icky enough, Allen was still seeing Mia Farrow when he struck up the affair with her daughter. Though he would dismiss this, saying they were, quote, still in some version of a relationship, but were going through the motions, which is a totally legitimate justification. Not. He would defend the scandal surrounding his relationship with Soon-Yi by saying the public outcry would have been identical no matter who he left Mia Farrow for. There would have been some cosmetic differences, but it would eventually have been the same thing, which is simply audacious to me, for obvious reasons. "I didn't find any moral dilemmas whatsoever," Allen told Time magazine. "I didn't feel that just because she was Mia's daughter there was any great moral dilemma. It was a fact, but not one with any great import. It wasn't like she was my daughter." Time for our next chapter. As we have established already, Woody Allen is famous for inserting a fictional version not only of himself, but of others as well into his films. And it just so happens that one of these films, Hannah and Her Sisters, stars not only Mia Farrow, but 4 of her children, including Soon-Yi. I'm not going to read into every detail of the film and apply it retrospectively, but I do want to draw parallels between the film and reality, as well as point out just how much of Allen's inspiration and writing writing is drawn from his own, very personal reality, often to the discomfort of those close to him. In this case, his girlfriend, Mia Farrow. I will now analyze Hannah and her sisters with all the context we now have. The plot is simple. Hannah is married to Elliot, who is having an affair with her sister, Lee.
You guys, dinner's ready. You look so beautiful. Didn't she look pretty?
From the jump, it's pretty obvious that Hannah and Elliot are meant to represent Alan's relationship with Farrow. After being cast, Michael Caine joked to Alan, "Shall I wear my glasses? Because I figure I'm playing you." Quick disclaimer. Obviously, taste is subjective, and I personally am not a fan of Woody Allen films. This is not me wholly dismissing it, but applying my own taste, preferences, and biases to a film that I am surprised has garnered as much praise as it has. For such a scandalous premise, Hannah and her sisters is shockingly dull.
Am I interrupting any sister talk? Oh, good, because there are no interesting single men at this party. Listen.
This is supposed to be a story of adultery, betrayal, and heartbreak, yet it feels like nothing happens. There's no tension and no juicy drama. The jokes fall flat, the pacing drags, and every character feels like a carbon copy of Woody Allen himself. Neurotic, self-absorbed, and endlessly pretentious. This is one of my qualms with his work in general. Everyone speaks the same, everyone thinks the same. This is something that isn't isolated to Woody Allen. Other talented writers, and yes, I'm still acknowledging Allen's talent, do much the same. Aaron Sorkin, who is also an excellent writer, has this same issue. But back to Hannah and her sisters. The story wanders through several lives without ever giving us a reason to care. Elliot is consumed with desire for Lee, yet the affair feels utterly lifeless. It's a string of hotel room encounters where guilt is mentioned, but never truly expressed. Hannah, the supposed center of the story, is barely present. She gets almost no big moments and, most egregiously, no emotional reckoning. Meanwhile, Alan, whose character is only loosely tied to this family, monopolizes the film.
Bumped into your ex-husband on the street the other day. He's just as crazy as ever. He was on his way to get a blood test.
God, Mickey's such a hypochondriac.
Rambling about his hypochondria and search for the meaning of life. Strip away the pseudo-intellectual dialogue, and what remains is Alan living out a fantasy where you can betray your spouse and simply move on. No one faces consequences. Hannah never learns the truth of the affair, never understands why her marriage hit a rough patch, and seems content when things go back to normal. Elliot and Lee keep their secret, and shrug off the betrayal as though it were just a passing phase. After their first sexual encounter, Lee confesses,
I was so worried I wouldn't compare with Hannah.
Oh my God.
It's a twisted line, and one that eerily foreshadows Alan's future entanglements with Farrow's family, as the most unsettling moments in the film come when it seemingly mirrors Alan's real life.
Hannah and I are in the last stages.
She's never said anything, and we're very close. She'd tell me such a thing.
But
Even small details are unnerving.
It's funny, it's a funny feeling to know you're being hung naked in some stranger's living room.
The film was partly shot in Farrow's actual apartment. Her children, Daisy Previn and Moses Farrow, appear on screen as Hannah's children, while her other kids, Fletcher Previn and Soon-Yi, appear as Thanksgiving guests. During production, Farrow's family went about their daily lives, cooking dinner, doing homework, before stepping aside when cameras rolled. Michael Caine likened the situation to watching an intimate home movie. Farrow later admitted she was disturbed by the script. In her memoir, she wrote, "It was the first time I criticized one of his scripts. To me, the characters seemed self-indulgent and dissolute in predictable ways. The script was wordy, but it said nothing. Woody didn't disagree and tried to switch it over to an alternative idea, but pre-production was already in progress and we had to proceed. It was my mother's stunned, chilled reaction to the script that enabled me to see how he had taken many of the personal circumstances and themes of our lives and, it seemed, had distorted them into cartoonish characterizations."
I'm real upset about what you wrote.
My script?
It's obviously based on Elliot and me.
Oh, so loosely.
No, not oh so loosely, real specifically. Is that how you see us?
This blurring of art and life was not accidental. There's even a subplot where Hannah reads her sister Holly's new novel and is outraged to find painfully real details about her private life exposed.
It's a made-up story.
No, it's real exact. The situations, the dialogue, everything. It's full of intimate details between Elliot and me.
A conflict that, like everything else in the movie, gets no real resolution. Instead, it simply serves to pair Alan's character with Holly in a tidy romantic ending.
Did you read that last thing Holly wrote? It's great. She's really developed.
She really writes good dialogue.
Yeah.
If Alan intended to make a meditation on monogamy, evolving family roles, and human weakness, he failed. What he created is a smug film that rewards selfishness and punishes no one. Hannah and Her Sisters is not profound. It is Woody Allen's sick little fantasy dressed up as art. And it certainly has not aged well.
Why all of a sudden is the sketch dirty?
Child is a touchy subject with the affiliates.
Read the papers, half the country's doing
Yes,
it.
but you name names.
We don't name names, we say the Pope.
That sketch cannot go on the air.
I believe this film is a perfect example of the Orson Welles quote I brought up earlier. Like all people with timid personalities, his arrogance is unlimited. I think his movies show it. To me, it's the most embarrassing thing in the world. A man who presents himself at his worst to get laughs in order to free himself from his hang-ups. Everything he does on screen is therapeutic. All in all, with Woody Allen, I see a man who has time and time again skirted by disgusting behavior with his talent, his charm, and his irritating, oh gee, oh golly personality.
Jeez, I can't sleep. Oh God, there's a tumor in my head the size of a basketball.
This is an issue in Hollywood and our society at large, one that I myself am implicit in. I still do find myself charmed, almost against my will, by actors or artists that I know have done bad things. I didn't set out to write this as just another hit piece aimed at an elderly man. This is for people in my generation and younger, those who didn't grow up seeing his name splashed across tabloid headlines, who might stumble across one of his films on Netflix and see it packaged as harmless entertainment. A Rainy Day in New York starring Elle Fanning and Timothée Chalamet sits neatly under the romantic comedy category on streaming platforms. But how dangerous is it to get swept up in a love story crafted by a man with a history of predatory behavior? When asked recently about cancel culture, Allen framed the backlash as meaningless, saying, "I feel if you're going to be canceled, this is the culture to be canceled by. I just find that all so silly. I don't think about it. I don't know what it means to be canceled. I know that over the years, everything has been the same for me. I make my movies." And he's not wrong. At the end of the day, cancellation, a word I honestly don't love, is far more personal than societal. Society will push its agenda, often as much for bad as for good. But we will all eventually settle on our own truths, shaped by our beliefs, experiences, and the people and things we relate to. But to me, one thing is certain. I can't stand Woody Allen or his films. All right, everybody, let's all give a special thanks to my Patreon members. Thanks to them, I'm able to make these videos and spend as much time on them as I do. I love them. I love all the support you guys give me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you guys are interested, check out my Patreon. You get early videos, bonus videos. You can request unedited reaction to movies or TV shows, or we've even done albums, whatever you're interested in. Also, everybody check out my podcast, It Could All Be Different, where we are examining season 3 of Twin Peaks, The Return. All right, thanks for making it to the end of this video. Until next time, Camcorder Cameron, signing out.